Everything you hear on Michigan Public is made possible by you, and your support right now will go even further because all new monthly gifts are being doubled. Make your gift before the end of the year at michiganpublic.org/donate. This is The Dish Podcast. I'm your host, Mercedes Mejia, and we're back with one more conversation to close out season 2, because it's that time of year when we're all thinking about what we're going to cook, what we're going to eat, and honestly, probably stressing out about it a little bit. And I thought, who better to talk to than Yumna Jawad? She's the force behind Feel Good Foodie. And if you've ever searched for a recipe online, you've probably landed on one of hers. So we're going to do something a little different today. We've invited Yumna to tell us about one dish that has to be on her holiday table and to share her best tips for surviving the season in the kitchen. I met with Yumna at her home in Grand Rapids. Yumna, hi. Thanks so much. I'm so glad you have us here at your home.
Thank you so much for coming here. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
So we're just going to start right off.
Okay.
What's the one dish that absolutely has to be on your holiday table this year?
Okay, the one dish for me is always stuffed grape leaves. So this is a dish that just takes me right back to my childhood because it just brings back memories of my mom and my aunties sitting around the table in the kitchen, just rolling the grape leaves one by one. Every jar, I think, has about 120 grape leaves in there, and we roll all of them with like a mixture of rice, meat, and spices. And so I learned to roll grape leaves as early as 11 years old. So that dish takes me right back to my childhood and reminds me of the people who taught me how to love cooking in the first place. And so it's just a very nostalgic dish for me. And since then, I still make the dish, once or twice a year, usually around the holidays. And because it's such a labor of love, if you ever see that dish on any table, you just know the person who made it loves you, cares about you, and you also just know it's a special occasion as well.
It reminds me of, I make tamales every year.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of those, it's just become a tradition in my family now. So we all kind of get together, and it just reminds me of what you're saying. Is there a story or a moment, a time where you made grape leaves that really stands out to you?
So I've been making grape leaves since I was probably 9 or 11 years old. And it always felt like it was the time where I was bonding with my mom the most because we would just share a lot of stories. And so I remember just feeling like, wow, this is taking so long. And my mom would always tell me, you can't rush the process. You have to be patient because you have to make sure each one is rolled individually and with care and love. And so I remember when I was pregnant with my daughter and, my mom came to visit and I was like, okay, well, it can happen today, it can happen tomorrow. And my mom was like, we should make grape leaves. And so we sat down. I was like, what? I don't have time for this right now. She goes, you do have time for this right now. And this is the kind of time that we should be doing this, because when you come home from the hospital, you're going to have this meal that you made. And then your daughter, is going to, or son or daughter is going to be able to enjoy this, through the breast milk, for example. And so we sat there and I was thinking wow, this is so amazing right now to be rolling these grape leaves, just have goosebumps thinking about it, just rolling the grape leaves together and just thinking about how the next generation would eventually be tasting these grape leaves as soon as she entered this world. And it was so beautiful and so special because literally my water broke the next day and we hadn't cooked them yet. We just had them rolled. And so my mom came back from the hospital. I think she didn't cook them for 2 days later, but by the time she cooked them, my daughter ended up having it. And it was one of the first meals. And I just thought it was such a beautiful moment. And it just reminded me, it just made the dish even more special. And I'll tell you the truth, till now, that's my daughter's favorite dish ever. It was funny. It was on her 12th birthday or 13th birthday. She was talking to her cousin on the phone and her cousin was like, what are you doing for your birthday? And she said, I'm not really doing much. It's a Wednesday. It's really busy. And she's like, but we're celebrating next weekend with my friends and whatnot. And so her cousin was like, well, what's your mom making? Because everyone knows I'm always cooking something. And she goes, well, my mom is really busy. So I just told her to keep it simple. She's just going to cook some steak and mashed potatoes because I like that. And then her cousin goes, well, is that your favorite dish though? She goes, no, my favorite dish is stuffed grape leaves, but I know how hard it is to make it. So I don't want to trouble my mom, with making this dish. But I overheard her saying this. And so the next day I was like, okay, here I am. Like, I literally canceled 3 meetings and I just sat there, put a movie on by myself, rolling grape leaves. And she came home from school and that was her meal on like a Wednesday. She was just so happy.
And it's so nice to have those traditions too with your daughter. I know she's going to carry that on with her too.
I hope so too. And that's why I told her, I said, well, you need to learn how to make it. So she's learned how to make it now and she's getting really good at it.
Is there a trick or a tip that you would give for people making the grape leaves and stuffing them?
I would say try not to overstuff them because the rice will expand. So the rice is not cooked before. And so you always have to do less than what you think you need. So I usually will do about 1.5 teaspoons for each one. But it's always less than what you think and not rolling them too tight so they don't explode.
Now, you mentioned Lebanon, and I knew you grew up in Sierra Leone.
Yes.
Tell us how you came to Grand Rapids, finally.
It's a long road to be here. So I was born in Zaire, and then I grew up in Sierra Leone for 11 years. And we left as refugees during the war in 1993. So when we came to Michigan, we came here because my father had a community of lots of relatives here who worked at some of the automotive companies. And so it felt like a nice little home away from home because of the relatives that we had here. I also started learning more about the community that I was at, being Dearborn, that it was a little Lebanon, if you will. So there was a lot of people coming in from Lebanon, so much that there was Arabic stores or Arabic bakeries, and you would even drive down a street and see writing in Arabic down the street, which I thought was so peculiar to see something like that in America. I didn't expect to see something like that. And so I did it. I felt like it wasn't home, but at the same time, those little touches like that and seeing family around and seeing familiar dishes that I grew up with in bakeries and stores next to me made it feel like home again. I met my husband in Dearborn as well, and he was training to be a doctor, so we went to different places from there. And then finally just got an offer about 5 years ago to work in Grand Rapids, and this is where we've been for the last 5 years.
I'm so glad you're here now. Although I'm sure you miss Dearborn and the food there.
Absolutely. So Dearborn, thankfully, is only a 2-hour drive. My mom still lives in Dearborn. It's great to always be back. And then anytime I do, I'm like, okay, breakfast, lunch, and dinner are figured out. I need to make sure I've got like all my meal plans, like all the things that I need to eat. I must have like menaish for breakfast, for example. And I have to go eat falafel sandwiches for lunch. And I have to meet friends for dinner at these Arabic places. And so it's always a fun foodie journey when I go.
We need to take a quick break. When we come back, Yumna shares her best tips for surviving the busiest cooking season of the year. Let's talk to the nervous first-time holiday host listening right now. What is your advice on where to start? Christmas is coming up. You know, a lot of people also, it seems, tend to repeat Thanksgiving dinner for Christmas. I know a lot of people don't, but a lot of people do. What is your top 3 tips for the first timer?
Okay, so first of all, I would say try to keep it simple if possible. Don't overwhelm yourself with too many dishes or too many things to do. Most people just remember the fact that you welcomed them into your home and how cozy and warm your home felt, more so than the fact that things were made from scratch. So try to keep things simple in what you're planning to do. I would also say the second advice would be try to prep things in advance if possible, or buy some shortcuts if possible. So things like, buying some chopped onions. I hate chopping onions. As much as I love cooking, I hate chopping onions. And so whatever you can do to prep in advance as part of that, like putting things in casserole dishes already, like cooking the pasta. If you're making mac and cheese, for example, you can cook the pasta the day before and make the sauce the day of. And so whatever you can prepare the day before is really helpful. And then I would also say, take the time and actually enjoy the process. Don't worry too much about the final dish and the final outcome and whether everybody is eating everything. Just enjoy the actual process of doing it, because that's what the holidays are about. It's like being in the kitchen with your family, involving the family and enjoying that process of it. It's just going to make you feel so gratified in the end.
Okay, I want to zoom out for a minute. Feel Good Foodie has become this huge platform. I mean, I think you have over
10 million followers across all your platforms. How did this all start for you?
So it all started as a hobby, actually. So I worked in marketing for about 10 years, and my husband and I were moving around a lot because he was training to be a cardiologist. In that process, we moved around a lot, and I kept thinking, and I had freelance jobs as, a marketing professional, and I kept thinking one day, once we're settled down, I'll get a real job. And one day, once we're settled down, then I'll take all this marketing experience I have and I'll become, something big in marketing. And while I was doing that, we were living in Jacksonville, Florida. My son was 6 months old and I wanted to learn how to cook, but I also wanted to feel like I was learning new ingredients and share what I was learning. And so my husband was like, why don't you start an Instagram page? And so he came up with the name Feel Good Foodie for me, and he encouraged me. He got me a few books. He goes, learn more about what you're doing. I learned about quinoa for the first time, and here I am, learning how to use it and learning what to make with it. For example, I learned how to make overnight oats, and people didn't really care about the facts that I was learning about it. They really just wanted the recipe. And I realized that there was something about my twist on it, my take on it, my accessibility of that recipe that made it really interesting and made people want that. And I think when I first started too, I thought there wasn't a space for Mediterranean food. People were intimidated by that, and I was shying away from sharing some of those recipes. But then the first time I shared a falafel recipe or a tabbouleh recipe, people went crazy for it. They didn't realize how easy it was to make it. And once I started getting that feedback from my community, I realized, oh my gosh, there aren't people sharing these recipes in a way that's accessible and easy and flavorful and handy for them to remake. So my website still includes regular recipes like everyday American overnight oats, baked chicken, things like that. But you also have those special Lebanese traditional foods and then a fusion of both.
So do you feel responsible during the holidays when people are counting on your recipes that Yumna, I'm going to make your recipe for, Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There's so much pressure. And so on my website, we get probably hundreds of comments a week usually, but during the holidays, we will get literally 100 a day. And literally on Thanksgiving, I got a question from somebody who was asking me probably 4 hours before the meal. They're like, okay, my turkey's in there. This is what's happening. Can you tell me if this is supposed to be happening? And I just couldn't believe that people were asking me in real time questions on Instagram and on my website. And so I feel like I've got this big responsibility to answer them. And that's what I do. I'm always on top of them, especially during the holidays. I'm on top of the comments, answering every single one of them, not leaving anything behind. It just humbles me that people are making my recipes during such an important time for them, because you want things to be perfect. You want things to feel, wholesome, and you're feeding your family. And so to rely on my recipes and to trust my recipes in your kitchen during this time just humbles me so much, and it feels like such a huge honor.
So before we talked, we asked listeners what their must-have dishes, and we got this lovely comment from Kate. Every year, she says, I make a dish my grandma called scalloped corn. It's a Depression-era creation, and I've never found it anywhere else. When I asked my grandma for the recipe, she had no idea of measurements. Her instructions included, add crackers until it seems right. But here's the recipe. 2 cans cream corn, 1 sleeve saltine crackers, and 2 sticks of butter, cold and cut into cubes. Mix the corn and the crackers gently to avoid crushing the crackers. Gently add butter. Bake at 350 for about 40 minutes until the top is golden brown. Yumna, what do you think of this dish?
I think it sounds very comforting. I think it sounds like definitely came during the Depression. It sounds like something that probably brought a lot of joy and comfort during times that felt dark and dreary. So I'm here for it. Why not? It also feels like it's the kind of dish that anyone can pull off.
So any last words of advice for people, thinking about the holidays this year?
I think with the holidays this year, it feels like there's a lot on everyone's minds with the economy, with there's a lot of stress, and things are more expensive than ever. And so I would say try not to stress about how much how much you could do, but maybe stress about like how much fun you can have with what you're doing, instead of what else can I do? How many things could I add to my to-do list? How many things do I need to buy to impress? So just try to enjoy small groups of people, small moments, and ask people for help. Ask people to bring dishes, which is advice that I need to take myself, which I have a hard time. That's the kind of advice that I would give, is just to ask for help. And it's going to be fabulous anyways, just because you're putting your heart and love into it.
Thank you so much for being on The Dish, and happy holidays.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays to you too.
That was Yumna Jawad. She's a blogger, entrepreneur, and author of the Feel Good Foodie cookbook. Thank you to the other folks who wrote in to tell us their favorite holiday dishes, like Tim McMahon, who wrote, "Stuffing of any kind, basic, out of the box, or elaborate. Personally, I make a mean butternut squash stuffing. I found the recipe online a couple of years ago, modified it to my taste, and have made it ever since." And he goes on, "My mouth is watering just thinking about it." Thanks also to Karen Eldevik, who wrote, "My father was a first-generation USA citizen from Norway. Our family of 9 grew up with lutefisk for Thanksgiving. It's an acquired taste, one that I now crave. Baked lutefisk is better tolerated by the nose rather than the, quote, dirty diaper smell given off when boiled. It's eaten mashed into potatoes with lots of butter and rolled up in lefse. Think potato soft shell taco. My father could eat the fish plain. While the butt of many jokes, lutefisk brings back many good memories of Thanksgiving around the family table." And for those wondering, lutefisk is a type of whitefish, usually cod. And finally, Lisa Gottlieb wrote, "Homemade fresh cranberry relish. This is now a 4th-generation dish in our family. A whole bag of fresh cranberries, a whole navel orange, skin and all, and half-cup sugar, all whizzed together in a food processor. We ate this growing up. Then my daughter took it over after I made it for years. Now my stepdaughter makes it for us. It's a wonderful balance with the heaviness of Thanksgiving dinner, adds a delicious zest to turkey sandwiches the next day, and if there's still some left over, adding it to a batch of homemade muffins means there's nothing wasted." If you have suggestions for the next season of The Dish, let us know. Tell us about your favorite Michigan restaurant, chef, or baker. There's a link to the submission form in the show notes. You can also email us at thedish@michiganpublic.org. And if you're a fan of Michigan Public podcasts, check out On Hand, the newest podcast answering all your questions about what makes Michigan so special. Thank you so much for listening. Happy holidays, and we'll see you next time. Today's episode was produced and mixed by me, Mercedes Mejia, along with producer Ronia Kabansag and Laura Weber Davis. Music from Blue Dot Session and Audio Network.